Gotcha.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I think I just saw the recording started, so we're going to get going. It's exactly 7 p.m. I'm going to call the New Hartford Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting dated September 16th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to order. This is a virtual only call. I'm seeing our membership on the call. We have Penny Miller, Eric Parati, Tim Russell, Kristen Young, Frank Rodenberg. Is there anybody I'm not seeing on here? I know Tom Buzzy said he would be coming in late. Megan was caught up as well, maybe coming in late. And I just saw Deirdre. I believe I saw a message from her a second ago. I don't know how to see what the messages say. Deirdre, are you here? Can you confirm?
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the meeting is called to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for joining virtually. This is a virtual meeting because our superintendent has sustained a sports injury and is unable to drive a vehicle at this time to be able to join us in person. So we thought we would do this one virtually as he's working through his many doctor appointments and follow-up appointments and trying to literally get back up on his feet. So again, thank you all for joining virtually. Next order of business, our next line item is the order of business. I have no changes to the order of business for tonight. Item number C on our agenda is communications to the Board of Education. We have received one communication that I am aware of, Jeff, and that was an interest in the task force from a community member.
Two.
We received two since the last meeting. Yes. Yep. Jeffrey Linton and Carmen
Neal.
Carmen Neal.
You got it. Yes, sir.
I do have both those communications. Anything else, Jeff, that I'm unaware of?
No, outside of any additional folks that have just sent on just their appreciation for a beautiful, smooth opening for the school year for staff at Antolini, at New Hartford, and Bakerville. I did ask those parents if I could share. They said they'd rather not. So just sending, those wishes to the staff that just made the transition so smooth. One in specific stated that they came from a private school, never felt so welcomed at the transition at one of our schools, and they just feel so blessed to be part of our community.
That's great. It's great feedback. It's good to hear.
Yep.
All right, public comment. We can open the floor now. If there is anybody who'd like to make a public comment, please do so by raising your hand, and then we can allow you to speak. I'm looking at the list and I don't see anybody. Jeff, can you confirm that as well?
Yep, confirmed. I see folks joining publicly, but I don't see any hands raised at this time.
Okay. We will have another opportunity for public comment at the end of our agenda. So we will move on, seeing that we don't have any hands raised. Next item on the agenda is Superintendent's report. I'll turn it over to you, Superintendent Sousa.
Thank you so much, Chairman Kleps, and thank you to all of the board members and everyone publicly. Thank you so much for being flexible and allowing this meeting to take place virtually, obviously with advance notice. As our chairman informed everybody, I did sustain a pretty significant injury, completely torn Achilles. So my road to recovery is pretty significant. I'm unable to drive or do much of anything at this point in time. So much appreciated. In terms of being physically mobile, I can't do anything. All the other day-to-day operations, I'm certainly able to engage in. So I appreciate that very much from all of you. And all of you that have also reached out just to check in to see how I'm doing as a human being, not just your CEO of school. So I really appreciate all of you very, very much. Thank you. just to continue on the communications, just a great thanks. It is, September 16th. The school year has gone off so smoothly. Doors have opened smoothly. Great thanks to all of our staff in New Hartford for making it so welcoming, so warm, and just helping every child get to where they need to go, to start to develop relationships with them, reaching out to parents, to start to develop those trusting relationships as we work together as a family with the student, with our staff, and with our families at home to provide the best educational experience to all of our pre-K all the way up to 6th grade. Current enrollment numbers to date are 437 students, and we had 21 brand new enrollments, 5 students in grades 1 through 2, 16 students in grades 3 through 6, and of those students, we have about 5 that have IEPs. So just again, great thanks to the entire community for their support and for having such a beautiful opening of schools this year. All right, moving on for our superintendent's report. We have investment in our school infrastructure, as I mentioned in our previous meeting.
I don't know what happened. It's only God.
Sorry, did I hear? Okay, we're good. Did someone have a question? Okay, no worries. As I mentioned in our previous meeting, I wanted to share with the Board of Education some of our infrastructure updates. So that's item number 1, an investment in our school infrastructure. So I am sharing a tab for folks to see. Chairman Kleps, can you just verify that everyone can see this? The investment in school infrastructure slide?
Yep, we've got it.
All right, fantastic. Great kudos to my executive assistant, Sarah Vogel, and all staff, custodians included, for helping put this presentation together. It's a very quick sneak peek at what the investments in school infrastructure have so far over the course of the summer have been highlighted. So we have 2 specific ones. The first and foremost is the replacement of the cafeteria, which we also use for our gymnasium floor at Ann Antolini that was experiencing moisture issues with our flooring coming up, bubbling, and tile that would literally be wet with underneath it. A moisture mitigation system that is the adhesive with the tile and the epoxy underneath are all one system that was implemented and put into place. The floors were scraped down. If I could get this system to go here. Here we go. So here's some pictures of the before, which were not conducive. They were unsafe. You could see some of the bubbling of the floors there. And over 70 tiles were replaced by our custodian crews as they tried to keep up with it. Obviously, with heavy rains and moisture, it was very difficult. Here is the flooring as it was blasted down and sanded, and the epoxy was then placed there to be the mitigating barrier. Here's some of the other materials that they put into place there at our floor in Antolini. And here's what it looks like now with the full mitigation system put in there. It's a rolled out floor, not a tile system. It's heat welded in between each of those seams. And we have our warranty in place. They did a phenomenal job working with our custodians to get in and to get out. And kids and staff are all very, very happy and excited to see this floor. They think it's a tremendous upgrade. And it really, truly is for safety's sake, number 1, first and foremost, and then obviously mitigating the moisture issue that we had at the cafeteria floor as well. This was funded, again, by the COVID funds that we had in a cafeteria account. So this was not part of our operational budget nor capital, but just wanted to share that with everybody so that they could see all the pictures, the before and afters. Additionally, through our capital, so again, we're thankful to our entire community for supporting us. We had a very rusty and outdated 2010 Dodge Mini Caravan, which runs all of our mail intra-district from central office to all of our schools. It also helps our custodians move equipment from school to school, whether it's student equipment or cleaning equipment. This van, there's some undershots of what it looked like, was quite rusty, and every light on the dashboard was lit. It was very unsafe to be driving very far distances or at all. We had several issues that took place over the course of its lifetime. But again, thankful for the capital budget. Here's our new minivan that we purchased, and we stayed under budget. We had $25,000 allotted. We spent $17,000 for capital to purchase this newer Toyota Sienna minivan to meet the needs of our custodians and to meet the needs of our district for, again, mail delivery and equipment. So just a great thanks. Just wanted to show some of those quick highlights regarding our infrastructure. And I will return back to the meeting here out of sharing. And I will continue with the superintendent's narrative. Let's see here. Regarding the next agenda item, which is an update for our RFP tasks. Yesterday was the deadline for companies to submit or firms to submit their proposals. So just received those proposals early this morning. We have received 3 from 3 different firms. I am still in the course of reading them as I just received them. They are all quite lengthy. And we will then schedule within the next week interviews with these firms that will involve myself, Chairman Kleps, Chairwoman Guilfoyle, and our first selectman, Dan Jerem. So we will interview these firms next week, and then we will proceed in the next step of selecting a firm. And then we'll have obviously an opportunity to consult with them and then develop the membership of the task force. So those are just some quick updates regarding the task force. Continuing on for other updates from the superintendent, one of our speech language pathologists, Mrs. Elizabeth Swanson, has accepted a position in a neighboring district, and we wish her absolutely the best in her next professional career move. We will miss her. And we also welcome our new speech pathologist, Allison Trifoletti, to the New Hartford family, and we look forward to her extensive expertise and experiences in support of our students. Further updates are our building updates. Through the Department of Justice grant, our security camera project is in progress and should wrap up sometime this quarter, probably mid to late October, with all 3 schools having the fully outfitted security cameras and access controls all fully updated with higher definition cameras and access controls. So that is one other building update to provide. And lastly, just to end with a quote as I wrap up the superintendent's report: "To be successful is to be helpful, caring, and constructive, to make everything and everyone you touch a little bit better," by Norman Vincent Peale. Those are all of my updates from the superintendent's report. Open to questions if the board has, or further clarification if I could provide any at this time.
Jeff, one question. When are the security cameras? What was the completion date for all 3 schools?
Completion date right now is mid-October to end of October.
Thank you.
And a
we'll
huge
open up
kudos to Paul Carmen for orchestrating all of that and making sure that it is all running smoothly. Sorry, Chairman, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to open it to any questions that anyone on the board would like to have or would like to propose. Any questions for Superintendent Sousa? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. I will note, I believe I just saw Mr. Buzzy join the meeting.
Yes.
And so we have one additional member on the call just joined. Next item on the agenda is the Board of Education Chair's Report. I have one item under there, which is community interest. This is in the task force. As I had said under communications to the board, we have received 2 additional letters of interest to be a community member on the task force. That currently gives us a total of 4 community members that are interested. Those interested community members that we have are John Puz, our PTO president, Samantha Wald, Jeff Linton, who some of you know from our solicitation and work with Jeff in the past, and then Carmen Neal is the most recent. Just to remind everyone, current discussions for community member selection is unknown, but we have thrown out as the board chairs. We talked about having 1 with school-age children in the district and then 1 without school-age children in the district. So we do have 4, and the selection process will be determined once we get a professional on board. One of the 3 firms is hopeful within the next, hopefully, month or 2. We can get them signed up. Moving on, routine business. First item under routine business is the approval of minutes of the August 19th, 2025 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Tim Russell. Any discussion? And seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. No, I can see everyone except for Tom. Tom, are you on camera?
I should be. I see myself.
There you are. Now I see you. Are you in favor?
I am.
All right, so that passes 8-0.
Tim,
Yes, ma'am.
whoops. I think it was Eric Parati that seconded that, not
Oh,
Tim.
no.
Russell. I thought I saw his hand go up.
I just heard verbal. So was it Eric? That's fine. Okay, and that passes 8-0. Okay, next item on the agenda is the expenditure report, end of year 24-25. This is pending completion of the audit. Can I get a motion to approve the end of year 24-25 expenditure report?
I'll make a motion that we approve the expenditure report, end of year 24-25.
Moved by Penny. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Yeah, I've got the first one I saw was Tom Buzzy raising his hand, so I'm going to give that to Tom before the verbal. Any questions, comments, discussion on the end of year 24-25 expenditure report?
It says pending completion of audit. When do you think that will be completed?
My historical of that is we don't know. It's whenever the town completes their audit. So I am sorry to disappoint Penny, but that's up to the auditors. You know them. You sit in the Board of Finance meetings with us, and you know that they say, oh, we'll be done in January, and then it's February, March, and we're still not done. So my hope is by March. Let's just throw it out there for the latest possible, March.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint. Again, that's on them, not me.
No problem.
Any additional discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right, now I see everyone except for Deirdre. I think someone pops off my screen each time someone new comes on. Deirdre, are you all set with that?
I voted yes, but I guess I'm off the screen. I see myself on the screen.
Well, now you're back on. I can only see so many at one time on my screen. I need a bigger TV, I think. But that passes 8-0. And the final item under routine business is the expenditure report for the current year 25-26. And I get a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Penny. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Tim Russell. Any discussion on the 25-26 expenditure report?
I have just one quick note. So if you're looking over the items and you see some lines such as staff on the first page, or looks like it's overspent by $139,000 for that particular item, and others that are overspent, it looks like that is not a true reflection. That means that the pre-K tuition monies have not been accounted for yet because we're still obviously in session and we collect those monthly. Additionally, there are others that the grants have not been applied towards that yet because we're waiting for those grants to arrive from the federal government and or the state of Connecticut. So if you see some lines that are overages, especially the staff one, should be popping out as 139,000. What's going on, Jeff? That's what's going on. We're just waiting for the monies to come in from pre-K and also from the grants.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion, questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right, who am I missing this time? Eric Parati. This time I'm missing Eric.
I vote yes.
Yes, thank you. That passes 8-0. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to new business, item G on our agenda. We have some new policy reads. Looks like ABC. It looks like we have 5. Penny, are you going to walk us through these?
Sure. Ready?
All yours.
Okay, the first policy is 1312.3, library material review and reconsideration pay policy, I'm sorry. We just had our initial read through on these policies. We're going to also, once we do start the second read, then we will ask our library media specialist to look at them. Correct, Jeff?
Yes, that is correct. So far, the policy subcommittee has met and met to discuss the first four, and then the last one as well. The first four are mandated policies. And the last is a revision policy to provide flexibility. But yes, the library media policies, we are going to ask for additional input from our library media specialist, because one of such is the review of materials that are outdated and then having to fill a form out each and every time. We're going to get some input from him, Mr. Todd Miltmore, before we go ahead and make that effective. But a great thanks to our policy subcommittee for the work on that. But go ahead, Penny, I'll let you take over again.
Okay. These were all by CABE. These are all through CABE also. So that's our first one. The second one is 1312.4 library collection development and maintenance policy. That's similar to what Jeff was just speaking about. Like some of our books are outdated. They're in sad shape. We don't want to have to ask him to fill out a form every single time we want to get rid of a book. So we're going to see if we can streamline that process. The last one is 1312.5 library display and program policy. It's just to make sure that anything that is put up around the library is representative of what we have for guidelines in our schools. Nothing that would be out of place, that would offend anybody. Anything else, Jeff?
Yes. So these three policies are going to provide the standard by which library material complaints are evaluated. So if a parent, community member has an issue with something, this is the process that we go through. So the library materials are reviewed, how they're curated, and then how they're removed. So this looks like on the regulation side, we develop a committee. It's very spelled out there that the superintendent's in charge of developing that committee. We review the materials that are presented. We ask for some feedback from the individual who is issuing the complaint or concern. Doesn't necessarily have to be a complaint as well. And then we work together as a team to ensure that we are having specifically age appropriate, up-to-date material in front of our kiddos.
Right. There's also a form that the parents, if you went through this policy, there's a form that the parents have to fill out, or the person that's doing the complaining, not necessarily the parent, but it could be a guardian or a student. There is a form that has to be filled out, so we reviewed that and made some changes to it. Well, you can see what's redlined through and then what's in black. Are there any questions over these three library policies? Yes, Tom.
So I have one. That's what stood out to me was I don't think I've noticed before. It says a mandated policy at the top of this. Have we always said a mandated policy on top of these things? We all know they are, but this one says it's a mandated policy. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I'm making it clear that it's according to specific law. So this is according to Public Act 25-168. So it's found within there. So whenever they're mandated, I want the board to know specifically what the mandate is from, and then have the opportunity to discuss it during first read and second read if any other concerns come up. But yes, that's why I've issued it there, and then wanted to make it public when we are discussing it as well, that these new policies are mandated. There's a list of approximately 15 or 16, don't quote me specifically on that, but we're taking them a chunk at a time to bring before the board by each month. So these were the first ones on deck to be in compliance with current legislation.
So again, they're all mandated, but we've been dealing with this for 8 years now, since I've been on the board, that these policies come through and we rubber stamp them through because we have no choice. But now there says a mandated policy. I was just wondering, Jeff, if you can tell me your thoughts on why you put that there. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but
no, sir, no, and no issues. I want to operate in a fully transparent manner. So when they are sent to me, they were sent to me in a large list from the state this year, and also from CABE and also from CAPS. So as I was reflecting on our process of doing this, I said, well, if they're mandated, the board should know that they're mandated and why and how they're mandated. So that's why I added that component there so that you guys would know about it. That's the only reason why it says that now versus a revised policy, meaning we have something in place. I'm just trying to be a little bit more clear and succinct with our policy subcommittee and also with the full board and the public all in one fell swoop.
I appreciate that very much. And is there a thought you have behind these mandated policies?
Yes, absolutely. So this provides an infrastructure and a method, a procedure to follow should a concern arise. Prior to that, it was handled internally, but I can't say. And when we met as a subcommittee policy with our admin team, I asked, hey, do we have these concerns even coming up? And they said no. So this puts in a codified method of receiving concerns that something may not be age appropriate, something may be contrary to a family's beliefs, what we do with that material, how it's then processed through, which professionals have their hands on it, and then what is decided afterward. So these, the first two specifically deal with that, all of the materials coming in and out. And then the other one is what is on display. So again, trying to cover all the avenues, trying to make sure that parent rights are considered. This was a very, very strong push for parent right and student rights with this legislation in the state of Connecticut. So I am in favor of it because, again, it's just for transparency, but it also is involvement of our parent community. So if they felt that they were voiceless before, well, this is an avenue where if you are concerned with something, here's what you do versus, I'll say, just, writing a very opinionated email that doesn't then do anything. This makes sure that we follow the process, the procedure, to eliminate the material, to review the material, or to supplant it with something more age appropriate. And we are holding true to the values of New Hartford Public Schools. So when we receive a mandated policy, we have to put it in place, but then this policy subcommittee works very hard to craft it so that it meets what we want as a New Hartford Public School system.
Yeah, so to me, of all the policies we've that come across our desks in the 8 years, this one actually has a little bit of ability for the board to make decisions that affect our town rather than being forced to do something. Is that correct?
I can't speak to the 8 years historical, but since I've been on the board, yes, this gives, again, the policy subcommittee has a lot of say in that, and then how it's presented to the board, how you guys receive it, how you read it, and then to provide any other input. Yep. So this is one of those really good, like, touchable policies versus the ones that are abstract. It's like, oh, we got to do this, and Jeff, you're going to handle it, kind of thing. Yeah,
right.
I can see what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course, sir. Yep.
Tom, if you look at that policy, trying to think, 1312.3, if you look on the community and relations instruction, there's a whole list of people that could be on the committee to review the complaints that are received. So it's not just the superintendent, it's not just the librarian making, looking at the material that's been complained about or that they don't feel is appropriate for our children or their child.
Okay.
So it's a various people, including the librarian. So
Okay.
it's not just I think before, like we had a complaint once before, but it never got taken to this level. The complaint was made, but I don't believe that the Board of Ed members ever knew about it or were aware of it. And I mean, I don't recall Brian ever talking about it.
Well, it seems like this is one of the only policies that since I've been on the board that actually allows us to actually be a Board of Ed. So I'm kind of happy to read what I read today. So I didn't want to take it for face value and not misinterpret it. So thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. I have a couple of questions on the form that we would pass out to parents who are requesting reconsideration. Just wondering why some of these questions were deleted. I feel like some of these might be pretty helpful questions for them to answer.
Yep. So as the subcommittee met, some of them seemed redundant in nature, and I could, of course, let Frank Rodenberg or Kristen Young also speak to that as they were there. That's why. And we wanted to get to the crux of the matter, not really start to delve into more of someone's bias. We wanted to get to the meat and the potatoes. What's going on? What's the concern? We even added a component for more specificity because of age appropriateness with the grade level checkboxes you could see on one of those forms. But a lot of them seemed redundant or weren't going to give us the information that we wanted specifically. So as a team, we worked through all of those questions. I believe originally there were 10, and it just seemed like this is too much. We don't need all of this additional information. Once we know, we get to the bottom line of, hey, did you do anything about your concern? Who did you speak with? Now, where is it in process? Give us the information and let's move forward with it versus it taking, a turn into one way or the other. We didn't want it to develop into a full-blown narrative. We really want to know what's the concern, what have you done so far about it, and then bring it up to the level that it's supposed to be with our policy, our subcommittee for the library media. Frank and Kristen, feel free to chime in if there's additional pieces that I missed. I wasn't thinking about going through each question again, but we did as a group, as a subcommittee.
There's also a chance for them to appeal if they don't like the decision of the committee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to be very clear about the appeal process is that it's only the appeal process, just so everybody's clear, is not like questioning the merits of the decision. It's you can appeal to determine whether or not the process was followed.
Correct.
In terms of the questions that were deleted, like I think Jeff covered off on most of it, but like we really didn't want people, like it's one thing for people to raise a concern, but another thing for other people to kind of come in and come over the top with our libraries or the committee. Like the committee should decide what age group the book in question is appropriate for. The committee should be evaluating anything from a literary perspective or critics. Like people putting that in did not seem to add any value to the work that we would still need to be doing there. So that was kind of some of the thought behind it.
And we left in six.
Questions just to kind of ask questions
Yeah.
versus like narrowing it down to like get specific on what.
And we left in 6 as we re-enumerated everything, just to be as the catch-all to provide further explanation there. But asking a parent, what age group would you recommend this material for? That's really not to be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form, but we have a certified library media specialist and professional teachers and an admin that are going to know the age group for that child, not necessarily taking the input in from the family member. Not to be disrespectful. And if they felt so needed, they could add additional reasoning at the end as the catch-all. So that's kind of, again, more of the intent.
My only other concern would be the who did you ask change. Sounds a little accusatory in my view. Who did you ask about the educational purpose of this? It almost seems like what have you been told is a little bit more helpful, I guess you would say.
It's funny that you ask about that because I remember talking about this one specifically, and part of the reason, like, we didn't want someone to just regurgitate something that they had like heard from somebody else about the book. We really want people to be engaging with the material themselves before they're asking for an exception or a revision from stuff. And so what this was intended to get across was basically, have you spoken to anybody at the school about this before you are filing a formal complaint? Right? Like, did you talk to the teacher? Did you talk to the librarian to kind of voice your concerns that way? Or did you just jump to kind of filing a formal complaint?
Upon hearing you say what you just said, I think that might be a better way of wording it.
Something like, who have you spoken to at the school regarding? Is that what you mean?
No, the way she worded it, have you had any discussion,
Right, with anybody
a
at the school?
representative at the school?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think that is the question you want to ask. Have you had a discussion with
I'm
anybody?
pretty sure that was the intent of what we were getting at.
Yeah, I think that's a better way of wording it. Now, I hear you guys saying it out loud.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Any
Okay,
other
Rick.
comments?
I'm making a note there to change number 3 to have you had any discussion about the educational purpose of this material? Subcommittee agreement so that we
With
have it-
anybody, I think the point that Frank and Eric are driving home with that, have you had any discussion about with anybody in the school district?
Well, this is going to go back to the subcommittee. This is only the first read. So does anybody have any reason to reject that change?
No, and they can always send their changes to Jeff and then we can talk about it at our next meeting. Instead of him trying to write everything down now.
I got it here.
Okay,
So I wrote down that change.
Very good. We'll move on to the next policy, Penny.
okay,
Item D.
yep. The next one is students, policy 5118.2, students, educational opportunities for military children. This new and mandated policy further supports military children who are enrolled and attending our schools to then have a family member be deployed. This policy supports the military family from disruption of their children's education. So we would not, if they got sent overseas, we wouldn't expect the child to necessarily, we wouldn't kick them out of our school system. We'd allow them to finish out the year or whatever they wanted to do. Questions?
Any questions on this?
All right.
Penny, one of the changes that I see on page
Let me find mine. Okay.
on page P5118.2B, the last bullet. I guess my question is in red is 9 excused absences per year for the purposes of visiting the deployed. I guess my question is, where do we come up with 9?
So that's reflective of state guidance with the 10 unexcused. So that was put into law, oh my goodness, 2019, I believe, that families can excuse a child up to 9 absences for the following reasons. And there's a bulleted list: bereavement, illness, things of that nature. But then anything that crosses over 10 then triggers our attendance team to convene a meeting with the families to see if there's any needs or supports. So that's why that number is what it is.
So they would be entitled, not entitled, but without reporting. We have, if they are a child of a military member, they can get 9 days here. But again, if they were to get sick or bereavement or things outside of that, they would also be able to get additional. So this is not a total. This is for specifically visiting a military member.
Yeah, we're going to be super flexible with them. Absolutely. The intent here is to protect kids from having disruption in their year. Once they're enrolled here, this says they could stay.
Anything else? Okay, moving on. Our last one is, oops, now I lost my agenda. Is a revised policy and regulations 5125, students' confidentiality and access to student records. I mean, any of the changes that were made would be in the red. Are there any questions about this policy?
I'd like to provide additional.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I read my paragraph first?
Yes, Penny, please go ahead. There you go. That's what I was going to interject. Go ahead.
Okay. Our current policy is too restrictive and not in alignment with standard practice. The board's legal counsel recommends increased flexibility. With school breaks, large volume of records to be copied and delivered, our authorized only staff needs flexibility not to exceed 45 calendar days to deliver record requests. The board will always work to meet requests in a timely manner. So, I mean, they can't say, hey, we need these records and we need them in 3 days. It's not going to work. Now we have up to 45 days to get everything copied. And only certain people can make those copies. It's not just anyone that can do them. Okay, your turn.
No, you got it. I was just going to make sure. You gave the board the rationale for those changes, and that we've also experienced this within a legal proceeding just recently over last summer and this summer, and it was again too restrictive, and the board was not able to comply with that. We want to make sure that we are able to do so, and in most cases, we again provide them extremely quickly. But a 3-day turnaround over the summer recess is just unreasonable when not all staff is in. So we wanted to make sure we had that flexibility. Again, that is just the standard across the board. For many other school districts, we are just adopting the same type of flexibility. And our goal is always to work as expediently as we can, but just to have it within reason going forward with all of our proceedings going forward.
Any questions from anybody? We will take this into consideration, any of the changes that you have suggested at our next policy meeting, and then we'll bring these back at the next board meeting for the second read and approval. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Jeff, for explaining that. And that wraps up our new business. The next item on the agenda is old business. We have one item listed here, which is the task force selection. So last meeting, we did have a conversation about that on how we, as the Board of Education, selected the three, again, proposed three members to be part of the task force. So I don't know if anybody has put any thought into that. I don't know if we want to use a nomination process, if you just want to give your or volunteer to be a part of the task force, and then we decide as a board how we want to do that. So I just want to make sure that is on your mind, and if you have a proposed process for selecting 3 of the 9 members that are on this board to the task force, please just send me an email, shoot me a text, let me know. And if anybody wants to have any further conversation now, I can open the floor to that as well.
Did you receive my email that I sent you a long time ago about this?
Yes, Penny, I have you on. Yep, I have you on the list.
Okay, can I also share with this group what Chairman Guilfoyle said at her last Board of Finance meeting about their choosing the task force?
Sure.
Okay, she said anybody that on their group, in the Board of Finance group, could send her an email. She would put all the names into the hat, and then she would draw from there. Someone suggested that she be on the committee anyways as the chairperson, and she said no, she would rather put her name in the hat also, so that it's all random draw, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Tim, I can send you an email on this, but I just wanted to mention that I think this was brought up at one of the recent Board of Selectmen meeting, but the way that we're forming this task force may trigger statutory requirements regarding minority party representation on the task force. So I've done like a little bit of research in this regard. This was an area where I was hoping that once we have the consultant, they could kind of like clarify this for us. But if that is the case, then whatever process we should choose, like, needs to kind of take that into consideration in some way, shape, or form.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we've had that discussion, and we do want to bring on a professional who's gone through this process in the past and let them guide us in the right direction. But we will keep that in mind as we move forward.
This is getting off topic very slightly because I'm not talking about Board of Ed members, but can you remind me of what the other makeup you were thinking about?
The board chairs had discussed with our superintendent doing 2 from the Board of Selectmen, 2 from the Board of Finance, 3 from the Board of Education, and then 2 community members. 1 community member with students in the district, school-age students in district, and 1 without school-age students in district. So again, and we're just throwing around ideas, discussing this when we had our initial meeting to be able to launch this and get it out to bid, to bring in a professional. But we are truly going to use them to guide the process. If they've done something different in other districts, we definitely want them to help us through the process.
One thing I was just throwing it out there and something to think about as we move in that direction is I think people that have showed up, people that go to Board of Ed meetings, people that have been engaged. I haven't been on the board very long, but I think that is worth something. We have some people that show up to a lot of Board of Ed meetings and so forth. And I think that should have some value when you're picking somebody.
Thank you. Tom, I think I saw you had your hand raised.
Yeah, can you remind me of the funding behind this consultant? Is that a town money, or it's not from the board, right? Our board?
We don't have a budget for this type of a study, so it would have to go before the Board of Finance for approval and funding.
And that would be drawn from which fund?
The Board of Finance would have to opine on that and give us the funding source to where they take it from.
Do we have a budget number for this consultant we're thinking about, or just completely?
I'm going to defer again. Right now, it's the bids just came in yesterday morning, so the numbers are going to be in those envelopes that Jeff has. And until we get through the interview and selection process, I think we need to keep those numbers confidential. Okay. Any additional questions regarding the task force at this time? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item I, reports at advance. Deirdre?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has the sheet, sort of the news from Ed Advance. We just had another board meeting. I mean, essentially, everyone's just coming back to school and all the busyness of that, and then also coming off of a very, somewhat of a challenging end of school year into summer. Obviously, they're still trying to figure out the cuts in the federal government and how that impacts the mental health, student mental health grant that they potentially are not going to won't be getting if they don't try to do something about it, which they've been trying to do something about it. But it would threaten the, basically 17 counselors up in the Northwest corner. So they sort of have been tackling that. They had to close the Workspace Connecticut. So that also took up a ton of time for them. And then, because they sold the property, I don't know if you guys know that. And then they had to move their special education program to the new building, away from the building that they were in that they sold. So those are kind of some of the big things that have been happening there. They wanted to delay the 25-26 budget until November. We just had a call, but they want to delay it for a variety of factors. One of which, of course, is this, grant that could impact so many people, and trying to figure out what they can do as far as trying to keep those guys on through spring. And then also the sale of the workspace. So they're going to delay what the budget is going to be looking like for the 25-26 season until the November meeting. So that's basically all that's been going on. They did have an all agency day, which brought a ton of people together, all their staff, and celebrating all their achievements and things like that. So that's kind of what they've been doing, kind of what's been going on at Ed Advance. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Deirdre on the Ed Advance report?
Jeff and Tim, one thing of note that I wanted to bring up too, about the special session of the General Assembly, where they miraculously found $190 million in new revenue that was discovered. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
Yeah, so they miraculously discovered it. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. And that was shortly after the 2025 the session ended. So they're trying to figure out what that's going to look like, and where that money is going to go. But like I said, after the General Assembly, there was $190 million in new revenue. So I don't know if we want to kind of explore that. It was a special session by the General Assembly to discuss $190 million in new revenue that was discovered shortly after the regular 2025 session ended in June, as well as a revision to education and housing bills that did not make it out of the regular session. So I don't know, I can't report out on that too much, but I would just say, I wanted to just bring it to our attention that we should probably look into that a little bit further, and how that may impact some of the things that we're doing from our budgets. And, I'm just not sure. Jeff, have you heard that?
No, I have not heard that, but I'm very sure that they will specifically earmark it for conditions of attaining any of those monies, whether they go into an emergency special education fund, which that has been created. They'll tell us where that's going to go and how to access any of those funds. I don't know. I have not heard that until you just mentioned that $190 million. So
yeah, I was going to send you guys these notes, but they're not approved yet, so I didn't send them to you ahead of this meeting. But I did want to. I want to be remiss in not mentioning that we found $190 million somewhere. So, and I don't know how that may or may not impact us at all.
Okay.
Can I request my $57 back?
What'd you say?
Can I request my $57 back?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Tim, I'll forward those to you once those are approved. I'll forward them on to you, so you guys have them, and we can discuss it further if you want to.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment for agenda items only. Looking here at the screen, it looks like we have 8 viewers. Would anybody like to address the board? If you would, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Are we
Okay,
sure? Are we sure they're able to raise their hands, being a viewer, being only a viewer? I'm not sure if that's an option for them.
Are
Is
they
it?
able to type in the notes at all if they want to talk? I don't think you can actually. I
Oh.
think they're pretty restricted.
there you
Oh,
go.
John Puz
Yeah,
raised his
did
hand.
it.
So perfect. So now we know. Thank you.
All right.
They
Thank
both,
you.
and Mary Greenwood too. Mary Beth.
John, do you want to speak or are you just testing the infrastructure? Well, we'll never know.
Well, I can only click on it and it tells me I can't remove John Puz. So I can't remove anybody from the meeting. I guess I want to make sure this does work. So we can raise hands, but we can't speak unless we give them ability. But I don't see any hands raised currently.
They can't click on that little hand on the bottom of the screen? and
No,
raise
they
your-
don't have the ability to do anything. They're just viewers. So we have to give them the ability to do that.
Hold on, I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna connect with Paul. Paul, you're on the meeting. Can you just, for sample purposes, allow John Puz to speak? So we'll make sure that works.
That's
Looks like
contesting.
There he is.
we have you, John. Were you trying to address the board?
I was simply trying to help you in making sure that if someone did want to speak, they could speak. So I was able to raise my hand, and then Jeff, once you had, I think, Paul unmute me, I got a message saying you've been invited to be a contributor. Do you want to accept or decline? And then once I accepted, I could then unmute myself and speak. So just for the knowledge of the process for everyone.
But you said just, John, you said you were able to raise your hand, correct?
I was able to raise my hand, yes. And then again, had to be unmuted. I had to, by you all, had to accept that invitation to contribute here in Google Meet. And then after that, I could then unmute myself manually.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. So if there's anybody, there's 7 viewers that are still listed as viewers and not participants. So if anyone would like to speak, please go ahead and raise your hand.
What about Mary Beth, who raised her hand before? Or was she just testing it?
We can upgrade her. Paula, would you like to upgrade Mary? Mary Greenwood?
And for the record, Paul is an absolute IT genius. This guy figures everything out. Everything.
All right, so Mary has been upgraded. Mary, would you like to address the board? I think you'll have to come off mute. Okay, I see Mary as a contributor, but she's on mute currently.
She's reasonably tech savvy, so I assume if she was still there and wanted to contribute that she would. Not to speak out of turn, but before we sit here for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't have it. There's no public comment for agenda items only that came before the board. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn at
Motion
7:54
to adjourn.
p.m.? Motion by Penny, second by Tom. All those in favor? Thank you all. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Good night.